Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Mac and Forth live show on this very Saturday, the Saturday before we get to see what's announced at WWDC. And apart from Apple annoying seemingly a large section of the developer market, for some reason or another, we thought we'd get together again today and do what we did kind of on Thursday and go for a preview of what we're going to do or what we hope to see at WWDC. And I've not got one guest with me this week. I've got two guests with me this week because I thought who better to get in to talk about Apple than the G-Men. So first up, we have Gaz. How are you, sir?
I'm absolutely fantastic, and I can't believe that you thought of us to talk about Apple, really. And we do come as a pair. That is true. We do come as a pair.
That's it.
So for the price of one, you get two. Yeah, it's good.
So
is that really a good thing, though? Is it really a good thing? Yeah, I have no idea how this is going to work for you today, Carl. But remember whose idea it was.
Well, that's true. I should have known better, really, shouldn't I? Let's try and get us all three on the screen at once. Let's see what happens when that happens. Oh my God! Let's get that bar out of separator out of your face.
Thank you.
So yeah, here we are. Are we excited about WWDC on Monday?
Yes and no. Yes, because it's just exciting to see Apple bring along some new stuff. No, because I think we know what's coming.
We do every year, pretty much.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a downer. No, I think I'm excited. It's it's something as we're starting to get out of the recent pandemic. I think it's just a bit of excitement, and I'm quite glad that Apple are carrying on and doing this. It's something which I think a lot of people thought maybe it wouldn't happen, but yeah, it's good. It's good.
Well, before we carry on, let's say hello to some of the people out there already joined us in the chat room. So, Brian, hello. How you doing, sir? Alex has joined us as well. Who else have we got down here? Paul. Paul's also joined us. If you're coming and watching the show as well, and it's your first time here, first time in the chat room, joining in. And
we're sorry.
Dean's just... Yeah, we are sorry about initially. But also, if you just type new as a comment, we'll say hello to you as well as you approach. And as always... if you've got any questions during the show, just put a Q before your question in the comment, and that makes it a lot easier for me to find it if it accidentally scrolls off the screen as we move on. Yep, and lovely Apple TV is also in the chat room now joining us. So welcome, everyone. This is almost straight away at the start of the show.
The entirety of Apple TV is in the chat?
Well, apparently.
Wow.
The lovely side.
That's
of Apple
like
TV.
6 people.
I know. No, that's TV Plus you're thinking about there.
Oh, okay. You're right. My mistake.
So we're already enough people viewing this than are normally at the most popular point during the show, which is the end normally. So that's good.
Oh, don't worry. We can kill it. Don't worry.
Sure.
Yeah, we can get rid of them. It's not a problem.
So, as we say, we're heading into WWDC on Monday, and it's all very exciting. Obviously, the thing we're probably looking the most towards, because we're not actual developers, is the actual keynote itself. And I'll also be checking out later on in the day, well, probably the next day actually, State of the Union as well, that address, because that's always good to have a little look through. Then you've got the 100 plus engineering sessions throughout the week, all new developer forums, which I think are live now actually at the moment. And then obviously developers can organise one-on-one developer labs. And we get the design awards as well. I wonder what's going to happen in some of those developer labs one-on-one. Are there going to be some like feisty developers, do you think, this year? Because of the Hey thing.
Yeah. You're already seeing a lot of this on Twitter where people are just losing their minds. And it didn't help that Apple had the most awkwardly worded sentence ever where they basically said, well, if you're not selling your app in the iOS App Store and you're not generating any revenue for us, we don't really think you're worth much. So, I'm sure that's not what they intended to say, but that's kind of the way that the statement came across. And if people weren't outraged already, and everybody loves to be outraged these days, then that certainly set a lot of people off as well.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to be making a lot of statements around how friendly they are to all app developers in the next few days.
We love you all.
Yeah, really. We didn't mean it like that. What we meant was, and then they'll make some highfalutin statement. But
obviously everyone will accept their apology because that's what people do on social media.
Absolutely, it's a very forgiving place. It's lovely.
Yeah,
Twitter
it's lovely
and cuddly and fuzzy, and I love it.
And you feel the virtual hugs the entire time.
And it's got to be even more virtual this year, of course.
Yeah.
We have got one question. I don't know if any of us know the answer to it though. Paul says he has not seen the schedule for the talks yet. Has anyone else? No.
They may. I'm sorry, go ahead, Gaz.
I haven't, but I haven't been looking for them because I'm not really a developer, so I wouldn't be into them. But I'm sure I might have to do a bit of digging, perhaps put some links into the commentary on YouTube afterwards, because I'm sure I have seen a schedule. So let me go and let me search my notes for the MyMac podcast while you have a quick discussion on that. I'll see if I can find it.
Oh.
I was going to say they may have put out a schedule, but not told the general population, just the people that are signed up directly for all of the talks and all the rest of that. So it may be that we, as people who are just going to go in and see the keynote, may not see the full schedule.
Yeah, possibly. I think you have to download the app as well, don't you? Because they normally have it all sectioned off. So
yeah,
in classes and stuff. Okay then. So let's move to the opening, which will probably be the opening gambit, I would imagine. iOS, the most popular, one of the most popular platforms around currently. Obviously, Android is still the king. Obviously, what the hell? But iOS is probably going to get the biggest features, up to 14 now. Is it time? Do we reckon they're going to give it a new, lick of paint, change the look of it somewhat? It got redesigned about 7 years ago, I think, when Johnny Ive got in charge of it, and he's gone now.
Yeah, I've not heard that there's changing iOS that dramatically. I don't know if you've heard anything like that, but I've not heard that they're changing the look and feel that much. I think they might be changing the look and feel within
certain apps.
Certain apps and the way it's presented on devices, but that it's not, because we are hearing one or two things that the home screen may get an update, things like that, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But as to a major overhaul, don't think so.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Other than they're talking about having a list for apps as compared to folders and. Folders, I guess, which they introduced.
I wouldn't call that a major overhaul, though.
Yeah, And the thing is, with all of these devices, because of the size of the screen, you are somewhat limited in what you can do. I mean, I was kind of surprised when the watch came out and how they managed to get around the fact that you had such a small screen to show as many apps as they did. It didn't necessarily translate well into a good UI because it's like, well, I want that one that's like right there. No, it's just to the right there in the middle, and you fumble for it. And by the time you finally get it, you're like, oh, I just don't care anymore. So, I mean, what they're going to be able to do for iOS on screens that are 4.7 to 6 point, whatever the new phones are going to be, is really difficult to say beyond what they already have. Here's the thing. Just to jump in there, a lot of people, we've jumped over list view a little bit. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it and saying it's about time. So, does that mean that, I suppose, in the views from everyday users, if they suddenly update their phone, and if Apple do what they often do and change all of your applications on your front screen into a list view, you're going to get the general, I don't like using this term because I am part of the general public, but you're going to get everyday users, let's put it that way, go, where have all my apps gone? What have they done? And they're not going to, so it all depends how they implement that. So that could be deemed as a massive change if they don't implement that right. But really, it's not, I mean, I don't deem it to be a big change, but I am hearing lots of chatter about list view and a lot of people saying, it's about time. So don't know.
Well, I was saying on the podcast the other day that we've like us on like widgets. I'd like widgets on the lock screen and stuff like this because I got so used to them on the watch now that they're really, really handy, I find. Just for quick glances of information like the weather, temperature and stuff like that. I know I've got a watch, but a lot of people haven't got a watch, and I think it'll be quite good on the phone.
I'm laughing out loud, really, because Guy used to do a little piece for the MyMac podcast many years ago for Widget.
It was the Dashboard Minute.
Dashboard Minute.
I mean, that
was actually how I got my start in doing.
Will you let me finish?
Yes,
will you let me finish?
Here they go.
You see, we told you, we warned you, and obviously dashboard widgets are very much like the widgets that I think you're talking about. So it's almost what goes around comes around, isn't it? So,
I mean,
it'll be a great idea until it isn't.
I mean, there is one consideration, and Alex makes it here on his latest comment. The biggest saving grace of iOS is its constant look. I already learned UI is one of its best selling points for the average user, which is what you're saying, Gaz. If it suddenly changed, if things suddenly look different one morning, especially if they've left on automatic updates, what's happened to my phone?
and that's you see, they're now in a position where that's a big worry for them, especially as Apple really likes to tout the fact that a high percentage of their devices have got the newest iOS version on it, and if they suddenly make a big change like that, that they can't be seen, and I don't think they now like upsetting too many people. Whereas in the past, perhaps the user base was of a size which they could live with the odd kerfuffle for a while, but now I think that's a bit of a struggle for them.
Yeah, you didn't say those kinds of things when you first started podcasting. That's in reference to what Alexander Fox's comment is.
What was Alex's? What was
that? We sound like an old married couple.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I missed that one. So, I reckon there's a few rumours, like I say, that were popping around saying that they might change the home screen. So I really think they should. I really think it's time. And and because of the format they're doing it in, they're forced to do it in this year, where there could be lots of pre-recorded video for them to show. I'm sure they've had plenty of time to show, to create tuition videos so people will not be suddenly left out in the lurch. All of a sudden, you've got all these weird widgets. Of course, they could just do it so it's a setting. Somewhere in settings, you can turn on these features and make it as complex as you like.
I think what will happen if they do it, Carl, is it'll be an option. Do you want to change to the new list view? People go, oh, that's great. They'll change. And then 2 days later go, oh, I kind of like the old view. And some people will like it and stick with it. But those that want to change back will then be online going, I can't get back to my old view. How do Apple have made me change and I can't get back. And just calm down. It's in there. That'll be the problem.
It will. That will be the problem. But we've got another question, actually, this one from Brian. And he says, you think that they will allow default apps on iOS to be changed to head off antitrust regulations?
Well, that is obviously something that we put in. Well, there's a number of items that we've got in the list of the things that we think is going to change, and that is certainly something which we've got as to whether default applications will be able to be changed. I think a few weeks ago I'd heard that was definitely happening. I don't know whether you guys had heard that, but that was definitely happening. You were going to be able to change to any email client that you like, or you're going to be able to change to any browser that you like, and it was all going to be hunky dory. And then about a week ago I heard, nope, that ain't happening.
Oh.
So I don't know. I think they're going to have to be honest with you. I think it's one thing to fend off the EU, which is what we're doing in Britain at the moment, it seems. But political reference.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Shush, Gary. But I think
is that a new thing?
I think they're going to have to do that. So the interesting thing is, I've heard a few people who use their iOS devices for work and for personal stuff, and they like using two clients for things like email to keep the personal piece and the work piece separate. Now that's really going away from the default issue slightly, I think. But I think Apple will realise that, or have realised that they've got to do that.
I mean,
part of the problem. I'm sorry.
Go on. You're the guest.
I was going to say part of the problem of changing default apps is much, and this kind of fits in with what the EU and the U.S. Department of Justice is saying, is that the hooks that Apple has in these default apps that tie into their other services, will the apps that you choose that aren't the default apps work in the same way? Like for instance, will your mail, if you don't have it going through Apple's mail service, will your mail be saved in the same way that it is if you're using Apple's mail program? Or whatever the default behavior is of a default app, will it work in the same way as it relates to the other things that you may have, that you're paying for from within Apple? So, if it can, then hooray that, you can have something other than a default app work in a similar way where it ties in with other services that you may use. And if it doesn't, then does that mean that Apple needs to provide tools for these default apps to tie into their services?
Yeah, I'd imagine if they did do that, they would have to develop tools for developers to say, okay, this is the base stuff that you need to put in every single app that's going to do this. Because if it's going to be default, it has to do all these things. So there'd be a checklist,
or at least work in like in a similar way.
So they couldn't just do, if then they'd have to find some way to put their own cream on top of their pie, so to speak. But at a basic level,
or
they'd have to
add the protection that's necessary, so that some of your information and the things that you want to keep private won't be exposed because you're not using a default application.
And I think that's Apple's biggest concern. That's they're a big do say
or say security. They are anyway. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think, Guy, they are, because it wouldn't take much for them to be caught out, and they would fall off the top of that tree very heavily. So I think that they are, and it's very difficult for them without all of those templates which are being adhered to make sure that their device is still that secure device which you can rely on if other applications which are then becoming default start going, oh, we just like to do this and ping that out to here, and we like to grab this and ping that
over there, China or Russia.
So I think that's their concern there. That's why they need that. I don't think it's the control they're so concerned about. It's the security aspect and their reputation behind it.
I would agree with that.
Okay, one of the recent rumours that started flying around this week, I think it was from John Prosser. The possibility that iOS 14 might just be simply renamed iPhone OS. It's the only one.
Who cares? Who cares?
At the end of the day, who cares? Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not going to change. It's not going to change the way it looks. As far as if it says iOS or if it says iPhone OS instead of iOS, it's not that big. It's not like when iPadOS became a thing, because the iPadOS does look different and does do things that the iPhone version of iOS doesn't do.
I do think, though, actually, what it would foretell is the fact that they have an iPadOS and a separate iOS for the phone. So iPhone OS, which could then lead the development of those two operating systems down different paths, and that might concern some people. Now, I don't think that will be the case, but if they are actually going to have iPhone, so at the start we said who cares? Well, now maybe we do care. If that is going to push them down a completely different track of development for those different operating systems, then we would care.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just quickly go through some of the other things that have been rumoured coming to iOS 14 and possibly iPadOS as well. There doesn't seem to be that much rumour about iPadOS, really. We don't seem to hardly know anything.
This is more like a Snow Leopard release, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's the thing is, that's the one that should be updated the most. That's got the most room to manoeuvre.
What, Snow Leopard?
No, iPadOS. Anyway, So apparently we're going to get a new fitness app and sleep tracking features in iOS 14, according to rumors.
Yeah, personalized workouts. More in-app sales. So if you're going to do a personalized workout, then make sure you're not doing it for free.
Yes.
I'm looking at you, app developers.
Real-time competing against others.
Yeah. I think that's going to be part of it. You know, if you're going to have it's like this.
Okay.
Is it the Peloton?
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to work that out.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing that you'd then get with, you know, being able to compete with others and personalize training. And it's just got to come, isn't it? Surely. I mean, you can do so much with the phone, and you've got so much background stuff which allows you to fix it to your bike, fix it to your car, fix it to this, so that you can, you know, interact with other things. So sorry, Guy, I interrupted you that time.
Well, no, actually, that was exactly the point I was going to make, is that you could now have things similar to what's in the HomePod, and, you know, other tie-ins into iOS where it'll interact with the user, you know, between the user and the device. So if you have a bicycle that's not necessarily a Peloton, but you can still sign up for much less money than buying a Peloton bike, where it's just a little something that you pop onto a stationary bicycle, or a treadmill, or, you know, whatever type of home equipment workout that you have that can have a monitoring component that can be pushed back up into someone that is literally monitoring what you're doing and giving you instructions online. Like my son Guy does a lot of this. He's a workout. He's a workout guy. He does personal training both in a studio, but with everything that's going on now, of course, he's doing it more at home. And that's basically what he's doing, except it's not really using that much equipment, because most people don't have the type of equipment that he has accessible to them in their studio. But it's the same kind of concept. You have someone who is knowledgeable about giving you instructions on a personal workout that's on the other end of your phone or the other end of your iPod.
Yeah.
Through iOS.
It got more out of that than you thought, didn't we?
I did. That was one line.
Now I have this horrible headache.
We've done the third-party bits. Improvements to Messenger.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about this, especially editing messages that you send. And it's funny because I think I sent you two guys a message, and then I'd misspelt something, or I said something slightly wrong, and it was then I was thinking, if only I could just go back and edit that message. And I think this is going to lead to, you know, all those messages that you see on social media where they say, you know, there's someone's getting it wrong.
Excuse me.
Well, it doesn't matter, wherever. But you see lots of messages which have gone completely wrong because someone's misspelt something, or they've got spell check on and it's said something else. You know, this will be the death nail of those. So no, we don't want that. But yeah, there's lots of and also in multi-chat talking about nudging people by putting @ signs to them. Yeah. But yeah, great. I bring it on. That's all I say. Bring it on. Yeah.
Well, you got to update something. So messages might as well be one of them. Why is it just going to go? Nah, we just left it this year.
Well, let me ask you a question then, Carl. How many times do you use Messenger on the Mac?
Not that often. Only when I'm sitting here about to do a show, to, like, you know, and we're struggling to figure out why your Skype isn't working. Only then.
Yeah, all right. Calm down. But I use it quite a lot. So yeah, I mean that would make it really. Mind you, it's easier to write the messages on the on the Mac, to be honest with you. But no, it's a multi device application which a lot of people use, and I think @ signs and stuff like that, and being able to edit messages. Yeah, bring it on. It's fine. It's good.
Indeed.
It's good.
Next one, multitasking for the iPhone, just like on the iPad.
Yeah, I think I put this in as a question mark. So it's one thing that I spotted. Is it worth it? I think with the bigger screens that we're getting, in some instances, it could be quite useful. Generally, though, I don't know whether I'd use it that much, but an awful lot of people are starting to do a lot of stuff on the phone, and I think multitasking could well be something that they'll bring over, as long as it's easy to do. The problem with the phone that I find is sometimes you find yourself doing an action from the top of the screen or from the side of the screen, and you bring on like a where you close the screen or you bring on notifications. So it's going to be difficult to do. But I did see it as a bit of a rumor, so I think I popped that in there.
I don't think that iPad-like multitasking on an iPhone, because of the size of the screen, is really
more difficult.
Something that I think is going to be worth it in the long run, or something that most people would use. The only way it could possibly work would be if you had the ability to turn it off, because if you can't turn it off, then it's going to make your life hell. If that's not something that you want.
It's only because we got chubby fingers, Guy. That's why. See.
No, it's sad.
Just getting back to messages, just quickly. Dean has said markup formatting would be great, like with WhatsApp and Slack users. That would be good for power users and stuff like this as well. And Alex also suggests Messenger could be finally opened up to non-Apple devices. But yeah, it would be good if you could get Messenger on Android. To me, I don't really. If Apple wanted to push the application messages to other platforms, that doesn't really bother me, as long as it's a one-way conversation. So if you're talking to someone, what I mean by that is somebody else's Messenger app can't work its way back into your system and do anything there. It's basically you're just seeing the message that's coming from the other person. There's no other ties back in. I think what Alex is suggesting there is like Apple makes Messenger for Android devices, so it's all self-contained and secure. I
think that would be great, Alex. I can't see it happening.
Well, you never know. You never
know.
Moving
on.
I love that comment from lovely Apple TV. Green bubble users are shamed into buying iPhones.
Pretty much. What else have we got here? So Safari automatically translate websites without having to use a third party. That would be nice. iPhone can open cars.
Heard a lot about this.
Rich people.
Oh, yes. Well, I've been waiting for my phone to be able to open my car for such a long time now.
Since 1937.
I think it's ridiculous that it can't.
I've heard quite a number of rumors about this. So, again, I thought you asked me to put some notes in, Carl. So I threw some notes in as some of the stuff I've heard. And that was definitely one that I'd heard more than once. Yeah. I don't just put single rumors in. I'd heard that on a few occasions. And I think it was BMW that was the one that was touted as being the first on the forecourt. See what I did there?
Oh, that's it. Paul could use that auto-correction thing. It does that already with trussless.
Yeah, I love that car.
Yeah. Is that a Chinese
That's the knockoff.
Coffee.
The knockoff.
Chinese car. The Tesla.
Yeah. North Korean. It's a North Korean Tesla.
Was that Paul, did you say? Was that Paul?
He did clarify it.
We know, Paul. Don't worry. We're just taking the mickey. We love you, really. Don't worry.
This is the one I'd really be looking forward to. Third-party wallpaper packs. Sorry.
Yeah, I heard this a couple of times and thought, what? Really?
Why?
We're going to a worldwide developer conference, and you're talking about third-party wallpaper. That was one of my. That's like a Gazette snippet, really.
That's a session.
Really?
That's a whole session, mate.
That's a whole session of about 5 minutes. Hello,
and there'll be
wallpaper,
two people
goodbye.
in there going, I don't know how I got here. I hit this link by accident, and now my screen is frozen. I can't get back out.
On the plus side, because it's only wallpaper, that means I could technically learn to become a developer and just do wallpaper apps. So I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, there you go.
Quite good.
It all depends. Although seriously, I mean, I don't throw stuff in there just as a whim. Or that sometimes I do. It could be that actually, if list view gives you the ability to be able to do stuff and interact with the wallpaper on the background, i.e. you can then interact with other applications with an interactive wallpaper. Maybe it's not such a bad thing. Maybe there is possibilities there.
If they do that, that goes my developer career down the drain straight away.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get that in there to stop your thinking.
Stop me before I develop again.
Augmented reality, definitely getting bigger. More stuff to do with AR, put in the phone that most of us will never even look at.
I'll tell you what, I will be actually mentioning a pic on this next MyMac podcast, which is a BBC augmented application, which is really good. I've really enjoyed using it. Now, I agree with you. It's still going to be something which most of us go, oh, that's shiny, lovely, and then never use it again. I get that. But actually, this app, I keep going back to it to use it to do other stuff. So it's how it's done, it's where it's being used and what it's being used for. Totally get that. But I think, Tim, I think to a degree is still touting that augmented reality is the future.
He is. You're not going to tell us that app, are you? You're going to tease it. You're going to make us listen to the MyMac
Hey.
show.
And if that doesn't do it, nothing will.
I have said it's BBC, so all you got to do is search BBC augmented app, and you'll probably find it. Come on,
fair enough.
I'm not being that nasty. But equally, I think I've popped in there that you could possibly search for other Apple devices like earpods. So the augmented bit will be, directing you to seeing where they are. There'll be a pulsating blip on your screen, and there'll be an arrow telling you to move the phone round, left or right or up and down until you've got it dead center, and then it says, it's 15 yards away in the pond when you dropped it in.
Yeah, then you got like that pulsing music, electronic music in the background. Don't.
There you go. I mean, it could be useful for stuff like that.
It could be a thing. It could totally be a thing.
He says, looking at the sky.
Yeah.
So then we move on to iPadOS, and literally the only thing I've really heard about iPadOS is the possibility that we can use the pencil to do handwritten responses into various text fields on websites. That's literally all I've heard about what might be coming.
Well, better handwritten recognition, because I think there is some hand recognition.
Yeah, it does it in notes.
Yeah, so I think that'll be much improved, which I got a feeling that some Samsung users would be going, yawn, yawn.
We've already had that no one uses.
Yeah. We've already realised that we don't need it.
Oh, well, that's...
Welcome to the late party.
Yeah.
They always say that to us. We should be used to that, but we just ignore them because
usually when Apple does it, it's just implemented.
I really have got fingers in my ears. La 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 la.
I can guarantee at this point, Tone is ripping his hair out wherever he is now. He's the only Android user I know of in the chat room. So
yeah. Well, we agree with you, Tone.
Yeah,
we know it.
I don't know what we're agreeing with, but we agree with it.
We acknowledge Android gets it first, and then Apple comes along and does it better.
I was just going to be really nasty there. We appreciate that Android get it first.
Yes.
I mean, where else would we get some of these ideas?
You missed that, you see, because you jumped in.
Yeah,
you missed.
Sorry.
So let's move on to WatchOS then, shall we? So built-in sleep tracking.
Whoa!
What do you want to do?
Well, I think actually there's going to be more cursors and more control for the cursor in the iPadOS. Actually, I did advanced cursor support is what I wrote. I did hear quite a lot about being able to use the cursor much more in a mouse manner, and it's going to give you much more control. So, there might be a few things coming in iPadOS which we're not aware of. All those developers that already know and are keeping it secret, well done you. That's what I say. Well done you.
I want to see loads.
Can we actually use cursors in a family-friendly show?
No.
God. Actually, I want to see the most from iPadOS. It's like I say, it's the newest, although it's based on iOS, obviously. They've got this new functionality. They've charged us oodles of money to buy this fantastic keyboard to go on with the iPad Pro, and they're sort of halfway to turn it towards like a low level Mac. I want them to see them go full tilt into supporting iPadOS.
I totally agree with that, and this is something that not necessarily Android, but some Android developers in the past already had. There was an Android-based operating system. I can't remember the name of it now, but I had this little device. It was like about the size of a hockey puck, and it ran on Android OS 4, and it basically turned it into a actual desktop operating system that was very, very usable. And this is something I have touted in the past, that give me a small little dock that I can take my phone, or I can take the iPad or whatever, plug it into that dock. That dock is connected to a full-size keyboard and mouse and screen and all the rest of that. And when I'm done using my phone as a desktop computer, I take it off of the stand and I go on my merry way. And to me, this is something that is not only kind of in my opinion, the future of computing, but the future of the workplace as well, so that you don't have to have this huge array of computers that IT people have to support. Basically, it's just your phone, and you do all your updates either wirelessly or however it is that you want to deliver the updates, and it only happens when you have it plugged in.
Would be nice. Would be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, you wind him up, Carl, and let him go.
Just let him go.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I get
Brilliant.
so tired after a long squawk like that.
Yeah, go have a sleep.
Can I go into WatchOS now, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So, built-in sleep tracking, although I think this is definitely coming because we've seen screenshots and whatnot for it, but I think it's more reliant on the watch, a new watch coming out with better battery life.
So, right, because what's the difference between sleep tracking from Apple and sleep tracking from third-party apps?
Well, because they'd want more control over how long the watch would continue to last, whereas third parties don't really care about that much. That's not their main concern. Apple want to come on board and say,
I suppose the key point there is built-in sleep tracking.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So let's get rid of all app developers and
they will still survive because they do a ton of other things now. Those sleep tracking. There's ones that wake you up when you're in a light sleep. Apparently, there's all kinds of weird ones. There's one I've never tried.
I want one that wakes me up while I'm driving.
The one I've never tried because I'm too scared of is that it will record you when you make a noise during the night as you sleep, and then in the morning you can play them all back to you.
I think that I'm going to have to go and search the App Store for that now. That's definitely one that I want.
That sounds equally terrifying and fun to me at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Blood oxygen monitoring. Again, I think this will probably be tied more to the new launch of an Apple Watch, but they'd have to put the stuff in this version of WatchOS as well to get it ready.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what I'm meaning is people will probably go in and plunk the code once it's released on Monday evening, and they'll start to maybe find some of these things unless they build them in much closer to the launch. But I reckon, I don't know, blood oxygen. I don't know how they monitor that. So
I think 6-inch needle that comes out of
that's what I mean. I don't want anything digging into me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you see, I think a lot of this stuff is about the camera looking through the veins and just measuring the light transiting through your veins and reflecting, all that sort of stuff. So how accurate they are, obviously it's like everything really. You have to people complain about things not being accurate. That's fine, but if you're using it on a regular basis, at least it can give you a trend. It's like the ECG monitor. How accurate is it? Well, it's probably more accurate than people realize, but actually it's still only something which will give you an idea of a trend. And I think this would be useful as well. So yeah, don't worry, you won't have anything pricking you. But that's the problem with accuracy, I suppose. But if they can do it, then they're gonna bring it in. Health and Apple is going to be what keeps their share price really high.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you can have devices set up that communicate with your watch via Bluetooth. So if, like, say you have diabetes and you want something that is going to accurately reflect the amount of I don't know enough about diabetes to say what it is.
Insulin, is it?
Insulin, yeah. That's currently in your blood. So you'd have something that does like a light prick on your finger, but it's not physically connected.
Can I jump in? Yeah, can I jump in there? Because one of my direct reports at work has exactly that. It's got basically like a little button, which is on his arm constantly, which is actually basically it's almost a pricked into his skin, so it can just pick up the correct levels, and that's got a Bluetooth in it, which connects to his phone. He's on Android. So that's already there. If it's obviously then talking to your watch, which is with you all the time, then you don't have to, carry your phone around everywhere. So absolutely, guys, spot on. I think there's going to be more of that stuff. And in fact, there's something that I'd like to talk about as to what could come and what we'd like actually. I'll bring that up later.
Yep, we'll get there shortly because I don't think there's much coming to the
Stop
next two.
Stop calling me shortly.
Yeah. Between the three of us.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, actually, we got Alan, or Lovely Apple TV, says he uses Sleep Plus Plus and it consumes 9% of his battery overnight when he's doing it. And
actually, overnight. So if that's over 8 hours, that doesn't seem too bad.
No, but it just
seems bad. The problem is. When do you get to boost your watch up? We're getting into a world where people with electric cars actually say, yeah, we're already there. Don't worry about your device always being at 100%, or don't worry about it going down to 20%. Just keep it between 20 and 80, as long as you can give it the occasional top up now and again during the day when you're not doing anything at your desk or when you don't need it, then just top your batteries up. And that's exactly where I think electric car owners are now. They don't we're used to filling the car up and doing 600 miles non-stop, whereas they're used to doing 150 200 miles at a time and then topping up and just keeping it going that way all the time. So it's a different way to think. But the problem probably you because I heard you talking about this, Carl, some time ago when you said that you wore it on your wrist overnight, and then when you had a shower you popped it on the charger, and then perhaps when you're having breakfast, or then occasionally during the course of the day, and that kept it going. And that's exactly the sort of battery regime that we've got to get more used to in the future, I think.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that has really improved over the last 10 years, it's battery technology.
Yeah.
But
more so than I think almost any other industry.
But we always want more to last longer. Yeah. Alex says black oxygen is monitored by light anyway, so it'd be basically the same as how it takes our pulse, I guess, at the moment. So there you go.
I did say light, didn't I?
Yeah,
well,
did.
Well done me. Thanks, Alex.
What else? So another feature might be shareable watch faces. So if we're in the pub together, Gaz, and you like what my watch looks like, I'll be able to send it to you. So anyway, I don't know. Yeah. These sound a bit like down market, these ideas, but okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like, whoa, we've got these things that will make you excited.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah, but boy, are they going to struggle to make those exciting this year?
Well, yeah.
Because the people won't be able to come on stage and everybody go, wow, ooh, scream, wow, that's fantastic, and then walk out going, that's not quite as good as I thought it was.
That's right. What else we got? Kids mode. So parents can make sure their kids are actually paying attention to whatever they're meant to be paying attention to, instead of like messing around. And have these Apple ever met children? Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, I was going to say, thank God that kids can't figure out technology better than their parents.
Precisely.
Have Apple ever met children? I like it. And how many kids? I mean, what age are they talking about? And how many of these kids have Apple Watches?
Tiny children.
Yeah.
Very small children.
That means that there's a hint there. They're coming out with new, smaller Apple Watches. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, the fact is, what I picked up from this, what I liked about this, and the possibility of this is multiple devices. Could you have multiple watches that you could than control. You know?
Yeah, possibly.
More money for Apple.
Yeah.
It's always more
Yeah,
money.
go
for
ahead.
Apple.
Buy more watches.
Right.
Yeah, I need one on
we'll
each hand.
support 'em.
I need one on each hand because I haven't got enough
I need finger watches.
icons on my. Yeah, that's true. I haven't got enough icons on my watch to tell me all the things I need to know.
You've made me lose my place now. Stop it. Right, digital leash.
Sorry.
Digital leash. Now, this, I can't believe this isn't in there already. So there should be a setting. So if you walk away with your watch on from your phone and you've set it to go off at 10 feet or whatever, it should make a little buzzing or a beep noise on your watch. So you left your phone behind. Because I've done that a few times. And it gives you that panic where you search, what's the phone? What's the phone? What's the phone?
Okay, so okay, so presumably you haven't you have said, walk away from the phone and the watch notifies you, but you could do that with other devices as well, I assume.
No, I'm saying it doesn't do that. It would be nice.
No. But if they bring it on, then and if they do something like that, then it could happen with AirTags.
Yeah, exactly. Anything you decide to pair it against, if you walk away with it, like a laptop, if that's the case. Although I don't understand people would leave laptops lying
Space
around,
shuttles.
but there you go.
Space shuttles.
One last thing before we move off the watch is the rings, the exercise rings. Let us set our own damn totals, Apple, on everything. Let us have a day off once in a while, please. God, it's like
There is no resting
worst.
in Apple world ever.
You will do this every day, and I don't care if you've got some virus at the moment. You will go out and you'll complete your rings, because if you don't, you're going to be reset to 0.
You don't
How
seem to
dare
have been
you
keeping
have a
up your
broken leg.
rings today.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes to midnight.
Thank God I don't have OCD to worry about that.
You living in London, you really don't need your watch to say it's 5 minutes to midnight. Perhaps you should go out for a walk. Because you won't be bringing your watch back. Oh dear. Anyway, so just let us change the darn rings and miss a day once in a blue moon, please, Apple. Please.
Yep. I've also heard
like
about ECG improvements, making it even more accurate, which I think it's pretty accurate, apparently, as it is in the moment. A mental health feature / app, I've heard foretell of that, especially at the moment. That could be quite useful.
For some people.
And a watch face store.
Third parties. I don't know. They should have done it by now. Surely they should have done it by now. I mean, there's a developer that created an app. You have to do some weird jumping through hoops to get these watch faces onto your watch, but someone's...
Well, if you've got to jump through some hoops, that'll help you complete your rings.
Mac OS.
Nada.
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Messenger. That's it, which you mentioned earlier. Update the Messenger app. Clean up some of the Catalyst apps and stuff like that.
Don't know. I think they're not going to bring anything out because of what might be happening with hardware.
Well, we'll get to that one after. So, Guy, can you think of anything for macOS?
No, I'm still trying to figure out what Gaz is talking about with the change in hardware.
Oh, okay. All right, TVOS. Better cache of thumbnails. That's all I've got, literally.
Better caching of thumbnails.
Because if you've got a lot of movies, when you go into your library,
Good
you're
point.
faced with a load of
and
white
photos
boxes.
as well.
Yeah, and photos as well.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Thank you very much. It's got all that space, all that memory, or whatever, storage and whatever, and it doesn't seem to use any of it.
No.
Very
Is
frustrating.
that a problem?
Well, it's for me when you get.
Okay.
I've got over 1,000 movies in my iTunes account, and
the cost of Apple memory. I'd like them to use it, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Cost me enough, then utilize it.
Right then.
If you're talking about the Mac, you could do something really crazy and provide an access point for storage and memory, so that you could change it if you wanted to.
Madness.
What on earth?
I know.
What?
I don't know.
Crazy.
It's these things that just pop into my head that must be said.
That's the danger of bringing Guy on a podcast. So.
It is. It completely is.
Paul's put one. TVOS needs group for apps. It's already got groups. You can move a cursor over and add it to a group. You can create groups already in TVOS. So
give it a go.
So
get the wobble.
You're ready.
Get the wobble going.
Yeah, give it mouse support, I guess. So you could move a cursor around to move apps around.
So you move.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I think what you do is you create. You press one of the remote buttons, hold it down, and it gives you a pop-up, and it says create a folder, and then you can, from that moment on, anytime you do that, it will say, do you want to add it to this folder, that folder, or that folder? So there you go. So we've helped someone.
We finished there. Stop there, Carl.
That's it.
Go home. It's downhill.
That's the pinnacle. That is the pinnacle.
We can't top it.
You can't better that.
Done. Okay then. So what shall we go and talk about now? Well, hardware. Now it's a developer conference, so every now and again they do bring out some hardware, and some things are getting a bit long in the tooth and might get a refresh, which is scary for us because it means an assault on our wallets. But not this time. But so there is a rumor that we might get a refreshed iMac, and if it looks like this rendition, oh my God, that would be hard to read.
Doesn't that look like a very, very large iPad?
Yes, with a nice stand.
The stand is extra.
A floating stand.
So are the wheels.
That's just someone's mock-up, unfortunately. That's not legit, I don't think, anyway. But, that would not look nice. But, but what do you reckon?
Going back, what do we reckon? Well, there's been lots and lots of rumours about it. So, yeah, I think that's a big possibility. But whether it's going to be released or whether it's going to be released on the back of another announcement, which is the based... I'm turning all pirate now, but
you just don't want to set me off.
No, I don't want to set you off. If they release a new iMac without it being an ARM based, because that's the other rumor that we're talking about, I don't think the ARM rumor will then appear for a while.
I agree.
I think they won't release a new hardware like an iMac or a new MacBook
or any kind of Mac.
Any kind of Mac without the combination of the ARM conversation. I can't see that happening. Now, it could well be wrong because we're not really that good at this game. But I can't see one without the other. Sorry, I can see one, right, but then not the other. Or both.
Yeah. Well, Guy, either or.
Well, Guy, you'd remember because you was following Apple back then when they announced the transition from PowerPC to Intel.
Yes.
When did they also mention new hardware around the same time as they?
It was the exact same announcement.
And what did they say?
One of the very first things that they announced was you could buy I think it was a Mac Pro that had Intel chips. There was some hardware device that you could buy that had Intel chips in it so that developers could start switching their applications over from PowerPC to Intel to x86. And this was 15 years ago. As I recall, there may have been something that they also announced, but as far as the transition from PowerPC to Intel, it happened within a year across the board. Every single computer that Apple was selling switched over, because if you know that they're going to switch processors, why would you spend Apple's premium price on a computer for a processor that they're not going to use anymore? And the other thing that and this is just my guessing, the other thing they won't do is release a hybrid computer that has both x86 and ARM. They're not going to do that. That's, and I've seen that. I've seen people saying that's something that they should do, and it's nonsense. Back in 2005, when they first were going to Intel, Apple was in pretty good shape financially and could probably take the hit of people not buying that many computers over the course of a year or two while they were transitioning over. But if you compare that to now, I mean, Apple could go 5 years without making computers and still have enough money to keep going over that 5-year time period. Now, they wouldn't do that. But if Apple does make the announcement on Monday that they are switching from x86 to ARM before next year's WWDC, every single Mac that is currently being sold will either be released with ARM or will have a date when that version of the Mac is going to be released with ARM. It'll take about a year for them to swipe over the whole line.
Yeah, which is kind of why it pours a bit of cold water on this announcement of a new iMac. It's,
right.
Even though it's not their most
unless
popular,
it's ARM. Unless it's ARM. And that's the drop-off point, or that's the starting point for the switch over to ARM.
That would be
because that's their most popular desktop.
That would be amazing if they did that. If they took the leap with that iMac and it looked that sexy. I'm not saying it will, but that would look.
Honestly, if they were going to have a Mac as a starting off point for ARM processors, I would think that the computer that would be better served for that would be either the MacBook Air or a re-released MacBook, a low-end MacBook for an ARM-based computer to get people used to that. Than an iMac, which is, $2,000 in that price range.
Yeah, I mean, this is all kicked off mainly for years, mainly because Intel just went so far off their own planned roadmap. They got so delayed, so far behind that Apple decided, well, hang on, we need to be in charge of our own future here. Possibly, that was the discussion anyway. So,
it's a matter of owning the whole process, isn't it? The end-to-end process and having control over that process, which a company does like to have control over as many of the processes as it can.
But Apple?
Any company.
True.
Oh, okay.
There's also a possibility of, we've been hearing rumours fairly recently about new AirPods, but for studio, like over-the-ear AirPods. Which is kind of weird because Apple owns Beats, and Beats already do this kind of thing. So I don't understand.
Hold on. Wireless headphone, that is just crazy talk.
Crazy. You crazy. But yeah, I mean, possibly it would complete their lineup, but I don't see why, because they already control Beats. Maybe just people want to have an Apple logo on the side of their devices. Although, that would be a big charging case, though, wouldn't it? It would be like a bucket.
I think it's the transition, exactly that transition. They've got Beats, they've got that brand. Maybe they are now seeing that a lot of people who buy the Beats brand are not too worried about also now buying the Apple brand, whereas before there possibly could have been a line down the middle where they would not tread, because a lot of people who bought Beats didn't realize that Apple owned them. And I think that's not the case now, and perhaps Apple really, they're going, well, it doesn't matter anymore. It's an old brand name, and we can transit away from it. That's the only reason that they want to do that, because underneath it'll probably be exactly the same technology.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be. It's weird. I don't know, but they do like doing their audio stuff. They bought that big room that's all blocked off to ambient noise and stuff, and got all the foam. They took the reporters around it last time when they brought out the HomePod. Apparently that's how they do all their audio testing in that massive, great complex. Looks impressive in the photos anyway. Another thing that might be introduced, or
a bit like my room here.
Yeah, exactly what I was about to say. They need to come and have a look at your get-up, Gaz. So,
Hello.
Another one, of course, is the famous AirTags, if they ever come out. These are so expected that Tile is trying to get Apple in trouble for various practices.
So they're going to sue Apple before even a product is released.
Well, not sue.
Good job.
But they're gonna.
Oh, that'll be next.
Yeah, well, maybe. But they're okay, I suppose. If you want to come down to cost, I guess. How much these things will work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'm not going to put a tag on my like £50 tag on my keys or anything like that. Probably, I just won't lose them.
I'm going to put a tag on me so I know where I am.
Where are you now, Gaz?
No idea.
Don't know.
He's in a little room. He's in his little Johnny Ive room, but the lighting isn't as good.
No, the lighting's dropping off completely. I've noticed that. It's getting worse and worse.
It was the opposite of me last week, where I suddenly got blasted with the sun.
Just don't know what's going on. Anyway.
Oh dear. Okay, so what else?
You just look mysterious, Gaz. That's what it is.
Ooh.
So what else? A new Apple TV?
No.
No, not at the developer conference, I would imagine. That might come at an iPhone event more than anything else.
I don't think there'll be a new Apple TV ever.
Oh, I do. Really, ever.
Yeah.
They need to bring one out at some point because the hardware inside can't keep up with some of the Apple Arcade games. It stutters a little bit. So, and of course, we come eventually to the AR glasses.
Okay, so you skipped the photo sharing.
No, I didn't. Sorry, I'll have to go back. Where was that?
That was.
Number
sorry.
2.
I see. No, you're doing yours. I see. Oh, yeah,
Right.
I get it. I was looking at my list. Yes.
So, we're not going to get AR. I don't think at this event. Shame. I still don't know what they're going to do. Glasses are a weird thing. I don't like wearing these.
Yeah,
So.
you see, this is where this and AI it winds me up to a certain degree because it is going to be something which is an add-on to what you do now. It's something which helps something. It's not going to be a product of its own. You're not going to buy an AI something. It's going to be something which helps a process. It's going to be something which helps a product. And I think everybody keeps talking about the AR glasses. Yeah, I get that. I think we're a little bit way off there at the moment. And really, I'm not sure that people are going to buy into that. They didn't buy into the Google glasses, maybe because of the camera.
A lot of
possibly.
pushback. A lot of pushback on
but I think there'd still be quite a lot of pushback anyway. Because it's so difficult to get your design right. Anyway, I don't. But AR incorporated into other devices. Now that's where I think we'll start to see the growth of commentary and applications, etc., etc.
Right, where it enhances an existing product as compared to being a product all on its own.
Yeah.
So, Apple TV hardware, by the way, I think it was Alex. Where was it? Oh, yeah, here it is. So they need to bring out new hardware because they need to bring out a cheaper version. So that would be one good reason. Because that's Roku's that have the Apple app on it. It's smart TVs that already have the Apple app on it. That's why I'm really questioning whether or not Apple will bother to put out a new Apple TV because they don't really have to, because they're not making money from that hardware. They're making money from the service. Right, guys. So what? Did I miss anything? Is there anything you want to really see?
You mentioned the AirTags. You mentioned the over-the-ear headphones, new Apple TV AR. It's the photo sharing. Now, I heard you guys talking about this, to be honest with you. I used to do a lot of photo sharing with the family, and then it came that you couldn't hold your library onto a shared drive, which was the way I was utilizing it to be able to share it across the family. And all hell broke loose because Mrs. G was going, where's the photos? I want to see the photos. I want to see the daily update of the photo. Where's the photo? I can't see all. And it just, so I had to put my account onto the iPad. Now she's starting to use the iPad more and more and more for herself. So she needs her own account on there. So then I had to change it to a shared album, which she sees. And that just doubles the processing of uptime. And if we could have a shared photo album, which meant that we had a central repository of photos, which you could then share which albums you saw and you could add to that main repository. Great. Come on, Apple. Get it right. It's not difficult. Well, it is difficult, but you can do it.
Yeah, and the sharing was set so that it was, only those folders that, you could, like, for example, you wouldn't necessarily want to share your entire library. but
Well, no,
only
you would.
photos. No, I know I wouldn't, but only the photos that you had tagged in certain ways. Like if I had one that was tagged with pictures of my cats or my family or stuff I'm doing in technology. And Gaz says, well, I need to see photos of your cat, not my cats, of the technology that you work with. Then I could send him a link that went to that folder and cats.
Oh, I nearly said a word, and I'm glad I didn't.
No, don't say that word.
I'm not going to. I think that they really could get this right, and I've so many people I talk to want this, and so many people I hear on podcasts want it. So come on, Apple. But
the biggest problem with it right now is you end up with like tons of duplicates because it gets confused over what you're trying to share versus new stuff coming in. Yeah. And then I go and I look at my phone and I've got 14 pictures of me like this. And why do I have all those extra photos? Why can't it sit there and say, well, this is the same photo that you have 14 times. And, just ask me one time, do you want me to get rid of duplicates? And if they are truly duplicates, then you don't need them in your library.
No, and I think that's the duplication of sharing over ether. But anyway,
right.
So that's what I want. But there's one thing I didn't put on here, which I was mentioning earlier. I think in-ear earphones, in-ear headphones and hearing aids. It's something which they really need to get into, because then you get a much more accurate heartbeat. You get a temperature reading. You could then stream to it any music that you've got. You could help with people's hearing that are. There are so many things. There are everything. There's so much, and the reason I talk about that is at work I see a lot of people. And they've got like this little cable which goes over their ear, and you can't see the pack that sits behind their ear. So they are quite neat and compact. I'm sure Apple could do a better job, even better job. And you can't see, this cable goes into their ear to obviously, because they've got hearing problems. Well, just think all of the other things that you could do with that device. Yeah.
Yep. But will we see any of this? That is the question. No. That is the question. Now, I did ask our chat room what they hope to see come tomorrow, and we had a few I saw. So, again, Alan, the one thing I want Apple to announce on Monday is Pro apps for iPad, Logic, Final Cut, etc. Yes. Hell yes.
Good shout, lovely Apple TV.
Dean's got one as well. Apple TV optimized HomePod speakers with Dolby Atmos support is what I'd like to see announced. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately.
What I'd like is the HomePod speakers to be able to easily link up with my Apple TV and the TV full stop. That's what I'd like. Not just the Apple.
That's it. Let me just look through, and that's the only two that have actually written anything that they want to see on Monday. There are more people in the chat room, honest, but that was the only two that actually wrote what they wanted to see.
They're being very, very quiet.
Yes, apparently so. They're having a conversation amongst themselves, so I don't know what that says.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Oh, I know just what they're saying, and you stop that right now. It's not nice.
What on earth, Guy? What's Floop OS?
That's a really, really hard thing to describe. No, right. It's not. If you listen to the MyMac.com podcast, especially last week, you'd probably get it. But it's just something I put in there that I thought was funny.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't funny last week either, so I don't know why I did.
So the point you've put here, Carl, around the one more thing.
Do we reckon there'll be one?
Well, I think that's the problem. Because I mentioned, and we kind of think that if they're going to bring a new iMac, or a new hardware, you've kind of got to. Are they going to then say that one more thing? Oh, and finally, we are also going to have ARM, which will be on the new iMac or new MacBook that we announced earlier, or they don't announce any new iMac just for this to be the one more thing. But Apple don't do one more thing anymore, do they?
They've done it a few times since Steve Jobs passed. Yeah.
Oh, fair shot.
No.
You haven't got that soundboard. Stop it. Right.
I have.
So
I have, and I'm not.
Are you sure?
So I think
Are you sure?
that's pretty much wrapped up our show today. Actually, so we're all going to get pretty excited on Monday. It's 6 o'clock for us here in the UK. What is it for you over there, Guy?
1 o'clock.
1
1 o'clock.
Awesome.
PM Eastern Standard Time.
So you'll be working.
Yeah, I'm back to work next week, full time.
Some of us never stopped.
Teams.
Just saying.
Well, the weird thing is, even after they told everyone to stay home, I was still going into work twice a week just because there were certain things I couldn't do from home.
That's 'cause they didn't
But
actually tell.
I know they said no, you go to work. Go ahead, you go to work. But it's the whole. I thought working from home was going to be like less stressful, and it isn't, because it just doesn't work as well as being at work, and a lot of that has to do with how work has themselves set up. But that's a different discussion for a different day for a different show. So I'm not sure why I brought it up.
Because I asked.
Yeah.
That's what.
Oh, so it's your fault.
It
Okay,
is.
good. Good to know.
So where on earth can we get hold of all you lovely pair who came and joined us on today's show? I know. Well, firstly, I'll probably get you both on where you are at the same time, because I've got it here somewhere. So you can hopefully. Oh,
Go ahead.
that's clever. I turned it off just as it started. So obviously we can come and catch you at the MyMacPodcast.com,
Yep.
where you put your show out every day by Monday morning.
Every day, every week.
Every week.
Almost.
Sorry, every
Yeah.
week.
Every day on Monday.
As long as it does go up on Monday, otherwise I'm very upset. But
Well, you let me know, didn't you,
yes,
sir?
I did. So, Guy,
'Cause I have no life whatsoever.
none. So I've got some of your social medias from last week. So there we
Right.
go. We got.
Some blimey.
I know.
Yeah, I'm a busy guy. Over on the Twitters, MacParrot and VertShark. If you'd like to donate to some of the things that I do, because I always need new microphones. Coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot. PayPal.me/MacParrot. Patreon.com/MacParrot. And that and a cup of coffee would get me a cup of coffee.
Fantastic.
But,
Now-
and vertshark.com is the website to see all of the various audios and videos stuffs that I do.
Good stuff. Yours is going to seem really short now, Gaz, after all that.
You see, you should have started with Gaz.
Are
That
you
was
having
the
are
thing.
you having a go at me? Are you being heightist?
Kind of sounds like he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ever so easy, really. You can find me most places as GazMaz, to be honest with you. Certainly on the Twitters, which I occasionally frequent. You can contact me there. You won't find me in Facebook as GazMaz, but you will find me on Instagram, I think, as GazMaz. So, yeah, if you find a GazMaz, it's probably me. I use a very specific avatar, which is the same everywhere. So if you look at the avatar which is on Twitter, that's the one. So you'll know it's me if you see GazMaz and you see that avatar. Or just come over and listen to the MyMac podcast. Download and listen. Download.
Yeah. You can't just download. You can't just listen.
You've got to
Got to do
download.
both.
That's it. Now, what you're doing something special on Monday, just like we're going to do. We're going to do a live episode after.
Yes.
Sorry, after
So,
the episode. But you're going to do something else.
Yeah, so early doors of my podcasting career, I used to do a piece for a guy called Mike Potter, who runs the For Mac Eyes Only podcast, and he actually runs the what's it called,
Macstock.
Guy? Macstock over in Chicago.
Unfortunately, not this year, which is too bad.
Now, he doesn't do quite so many podcasts now, but he was very informative, and it's a very relaxed and quite very similar actually to Adam Christensen's MacCast podcast. Well, a few years ago, we started doing what we called the live reaction time. So we would follow all of the feeds because, believe it or not, when we started this, you couldn't see the event. It was never live streamed. However, everybody was in the audience live streaming it and doing their blogs. So we would actually do a podcast where we react as that comes in. And it's it's pretty unedited apart from when you get some quiet spots. And I'm doing that with Mike on Monday. I think Chuck Joyner might be on there as well. And for any Mac aficionados, Barry Falk occasionally comes on and joins us also. But yeah, doing that on Monday. Quite enjoy that, chatting with Mike.
Yep.
It's good.
It's good.
Barry of the Magic Sinks.
Yeah.
And as I say, after the presentation on Monday, the four of us from the podcast, we're going to try and do a live show. And I'm still trying to talk everyone into coming on camera. Not sure if that's going to happen, though, but we'll wait and see. So if about, half an hour, 40 minutes after the keynote finishes, if there should be a link on YouTube, and you should be able to come and watch us record our thoughts on the keynote itself live.
I'll still be
kind
at
of
work.
scary. Yeah,
I've just realised, actually, if you see this image, there's my avatar. That's my avatar. You see, because I can actually wear this. How's that? That's classic,
Perfect.
isn't it?
What?
That is great.
What? Words.
And actually, it's better lit than your actual face.
It is, actually. It is. There you go. I'll leave that on for the rest of the show. I can't actually see through it. So. What's wrong?
These are the things that I notice.
Oh, dear. Right then. Well, on basically that note. Oh, by the way, chat room, you've been watching all this time. Not one of you have done a thumbs up. Thank you very much on the show. I don't...
Yeah, sorry about that, Carl.
I'm not sure you can do that on YouTube, to tell you the truth, but no one's done one anyway. So, so as I say, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it from us this week. We'll be back again next week. We'll be talking about all the things that were actually announced, rather than just making up what might be announced. Like I say, if you want to come and listen to us on Monday evening, come and join us over there for our live stream. I'm sure the guys will be putting out their own podcast by Monday morning. Yeah,
definitely.
So you can come
Pay attention, Guy. Pay attention.
He's got. So there'll be tons of Apple and Mac related and God knows what news flying around this week. Thank God, and hopefully some of the developers won't be as salty as they've been since the later half of this week. But we shall see how things progress, and I'm sure there'll be some news anyway. So that's pretty much it from us this week. We'll be back again, like I say, next week, and I don't know who's going to be joining me then, but I'll try and find someone to come and share the screen time. So until then, please, everybody out there, as I always say, stay safe and be nice to each other. Bye.
Bye.